Hey y'all, I'm Janelle,
And I'm Rebecca.
and this is Rebecca. I'm pointing like we're not on video, but we are. This is our thoughts on mental projector things. And we've been touching on various pieces of the mental projector life. And this video is going to focus on waiting for the invitation, which is the projector in general strategy. But for Rebecca and myself, it feels a little bit different as mental projectors, and it might look a little bit different. That's kind of why we want to talk about it, because waiting for the invitation is one of those things where you hear it or you read it in your information notes about your body graph, and you go, huh? Like, am I a vampire now? What's happening? I don't care for this. We are referred to as vampires sometimes too, but I happen to love vampires, so I love it. But anyway, waiting for the invitation sounds very passive and very much, I have no control. I wait, I sit and lounge in the sun, and you peasants, you bring me invites, and I accept or decline. It's like you're a socialite and you're just being invited to all the parties, and you just lay there and all these invitations just fall on you.
I like that visual.
I wish that's what happened.
I
Yes, I would love to attend this party. No, yes, no. That's not really what it is. Sounds like what it could be, and it would be wonderful. And if that's what's happening to you as a projector, then fantastic. I love it. Send me photos because I have to see this. Waiting for the invitation essentially is a tool for us to not initiate things and to not put things out into the world in a way that feels forced or desperate or please look at me. Because as projectors, we need recognition. I didn't want to use the word need, but I'm using it.
I think that's appropriate, honestly.
Yeah. And it's not just recognition from other people, it's recognition for yourself, to yourself. That's kind of where it starts. In fact, I want you to talk about this part because I like the way you talk about it.
Yeah, that's the part. This is the part that really got me, is that you have to recognize within yourself. And that's part of the invitation and what all happens here, because as projectors, like you said, we need the recognition. And when we're not recognizing ourselves, we try to seek it without. And as mental projectors, we have our bodies so open. So all the not self stuff, like trying to prove our worth or trying to go or trying to avoid conflict, any of those things can be the driving force of us trying to seek this recognition. And then we become bitter because it's like, why don't you see my genius? Well, because you don't see your genius. And I always liken it to being a lighthouse. I know a lot of like other people do, but a lighthouse has to understand it's a lighthouse, and it shines bright and stands tall regardless, because it's a lighthouse and that's its job. And the boats that need it are so happy, and they come to it and they're like, "Oh, so glad that lighthouse was there with the bright shiny light." And the boats that don't just keep going because they're going somewhere else, and that's fine.
Yes.
So that's how I always see it. Like, what is your lighthouse? What is your bright shiny light?
Yes, I love that so much. And it's going to change. Like you're going to be working on recognizing yourself all the time, because one, there's going to be times when you doubt yourself very heavily or lightly, however that goes. And there's going to be times when your light changes. What your light is, what you are into, your niche, whatever you want to call it, can change, can shift, can become something different. And you might have to re-recognize yourself in that thing or in that space that you're in now. That's kind of what I had to do when I started to do readings, and when I was pushed more and more towards human design as my calling, I guess, if you want to say it that way, was I really had to look at myself and go, this is like, it's okay that this is who you are. Like, it's okay that you can't really explain to people what you do. It's okay that there's no, like, people can't read like a resume or like a list of accomplishments or like all the stuff that you've done. the do word again, it's okay, because you as your person who you are is enough, and you don't need to be doing a bunch of things. And this has a lot to do with the undefined heart, and that can really throw a lot of us for a loop, especially females. And we all have undefined hearts here. So really work on the recognizing yourself first, however that looks to you, whatever things help you to do that. For me, meditation really helps. Yoga, I have a big gratitude practice. I have a breath work practice. I have all these things that I do that for me, it just calms me up here, which in general makes me feel better down here and helps me to see myself as a whole. And anything I do to like help myself, like inner work or feel better, usually stems from, how do I get this to calm down? How do I get this to stop telling me you're not ready, you don't know enough, this is stupid, no one's gonna like it? Like, how?
Yeah.
And those are the things that I gravitate towards. So whatever works for you personally to help you see yourself for who you are and not for what you do or have done or accomplishments, those are all great, wonderful. I'm glad you have a ton of accomplishments, but that's not what you're here for. You're not here to accomplish anything, really. You're here to guide. You're here to help the others accomplish.
It is a huge accomplishment. Not everybody can do it.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna say that I also do breath work every morning and journaling, and I go work out. I like to lift. That's my favorite thing. So,
and I don't like journaling. And I'm still doing work, inner work. I'm still loving myself, even though I don't like to journal. So if you're thinking and you're like, I hate all that stuff, like stupid, I don't want to do any of those things. I guarantee you there's something in your life that pushes the release valve on your pressure sensors and causes you to just kind of go, I know there is. Just do more of that. Explore those things, because that will help you to see yourself more clearly. And then we get to the outer recognition piece, which is other people telling you how awesome you are. Yay!
Yeah.
We need this.
They can't do that without you doing it first.
Yes, exactly. And this was a big piece for me, was admitting that I needed other people's recognition. That sounds, again, another part of the mental projector giving power away. That's what it sounded like to me. Like, I'm just giving away all my power. This is lame. But it's not. It's really, really awesome. And it's so neat when someone tells you, like after I read for someone and they tell me how much they love it, or they come to me later and tell me how much it helped them, and I'm like, really? Like, I was just saying stuff I thought was cool that I saw about you, and now you're super into it. And that's like the recognition that moves me forward. Because sometimes I waver in this thing. I'm like, is this the right thing? Like, what the hell am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. I don't feel prepared or ready, or like I should be telling other people stuff. But then I realized that if I come at it as from a way of, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm telling you what I do or what I think, and you do with it what you will. When I came to that realization, I got a lot more recognition for the stuff that I said, because it wasn't me going, okay, this is how I learned human design. Let's start step one. We're going to start with types, and then we're going to move forward and all that. I mean, I watched a ton of videos on that stuff, and that's how I learned some things, but I can't teach that way, or I can't guide that way. It doesn't work for me. And so this is another big piece of the recognition, is when people recognize you for stuff and you're like, huh? Like, that's not even a thing. Like, what are you like? Ugh. No, look at the things that people recognize in you that you don't even think are important, that are so easy for you, or not even a thing that you think you're good at because you don't think it's something to be good at. That's another part of it, was sometimes we can get recognized for things and just toss it aside. Like, whatever. You know, it's like compliments.
We don't see it. Or
that's another good part. We don't see our own stuff. Projectors have a hard time seeing their own abilities, recognizing themselves. So after you've worked on the big piece of recognizing yourself, continue working on it your whole life, basically, you're going to get recognized for stuff and be like, and it's not going to make sense sometimes. Or it's just going to, it's like when someone compliments you on your hair or your outfit and you're like, oh, whatever. When really you should take it and be like, wow, my hair does look really great today. Or I do love this outfit. Where did I get it? Maybe that's where I should get more clothes because I need more clothes. Bam! Like, just take the compliments, take the recognition. It can feel weird or uncomfortable as a projector to be recognized, but you just take it.
Because that is how you start to see yourself too.
Mhm.
When people start to point stuff out and you actually sit with it. I know I had to do that. And one thing that really helped me with the internal recognition is looking at my incarnation cross gates and just realizing, you know, with the defined ajna and throat and my one channel there, right? But then my conscious sun is coming out of the ajna. And I thought, okay, like it is okay for me to share my thoughts where I didn't feel safe doing that before.
Me too.
And just sitting there thinking, oh, this is actually what I'm here for. This is literally all I'm here for. So my childhood dream of being like all I want to do is research and write things and then teach about them is because that's literally what I'm here for.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Got it. And so then, you know, it's,
Yeah.
I can look at all the other things in my chart and it's like, and then it helps me to see that.
I agree.
And so then I
mental
into that. Yeah.
As mental projectors, we don't have a lot defined. So I love this. Look at your definition. A lot of times as mental projectors, we are focusing on our non-defined areas, our undefined areas, the white. Look at where you're defined. Look at the places. Rebecca and I are both defined in the 1156. We're both here to talk. I had a huge hang up on that. So did you. Now we're like, yeah.
Together. But then your incarnation cross gates are on that G center. And I got to tell you that this thing is moving in a direction because of you. If it was just me, like we're talking about,
Think so?
like, absolutely. Janelle, when I'm by myself, it's like, let me build the foundation some more. And then
when I'm by myself, I'm like, hey, I'm up here in this parachute and I have no footing. What's happening? Oh, I have this idea here. Okay, now I have no, I feel so unorganized and like floaty. That's so crazy that you say that. And then when we talk about stuff, I feel like you grab my legs and go, here, this is where we're at. And I'm like, oh, and then I see this is where we're going. And then you're like, okay, yep, that's where we're going. And then we move. See, this is how crazy it is because we're both mental projectors, but we have differences in our chart that help each other. And we see it. The fact that we're aware of it is pretty neat. And when I see it in her, I tell her. When she sees it in me, she tells me. We're recognizing each other back and forth. Ooh, this is another big piece, a good piece of the recognition. If you have projectors in your lives, do this for each other. Even if you don't think it matters, even if like, who cares if I like that her shirt, or who cares if I like that thing she said or wrote or whatever. Tell them that you like their content. Tell them that you like whatever it is about them that you like, tell them, because that little piece of recognition for a projector is gigantic. It feels so nice. Yes. And you don't sound like you're blowing smoke up our butts if you're being genuine with what you're telling us. And it could be, like I said, anything. You like the way they look, smell, did this, talk to that, whatever. They said a funny joke and you're like, oh gosh, that was so funny. Yes, tell them. Do this for everybody because it's nice, but if you have projectors in your life, you should say, hey, guys, we should recognize each other as much as we can. I'm going to tell you when I think you do something awesome, you do the same. It moves you forward. It progresses you, even if you don't think it's a big deal that they recognize you on whatever it is that it was. Or if it's somebody that you're close to and you're like, well, yeah, they're my best friend or my sister or my mom. Obviously, they love me and they're going to tell me great things. No, just take it. Yeah. But oh, that's so funny that you say that thing. I'm glad that you think that I'm moving this forward because a lot, and this is the interesting thing about having all the directional gates in an undefined G center is I don't know this. Like, I don't feel like we're moving. I feel like we're on one of those teacup rides and we're just spinning and then we're over here, we're spinning, and then we're over here, we're spinning. Like, that's how it feels to me. But the fact that it's going forward is very exciting. So cool. See, guys, this is what recognition is all about. you tell people what you like about them, and it helps them to see it in themselves and to move forward. And even if it doesn't become the thing that like you do for a career, or if it doesn't become an important part of your life, like just to know that you're good at styling your own hair, or you're good at picking out your own clothes, or you're good at something, hooray. Maybe knowing that you're good at styling your own clothes turns into you becoming a stylist. I don't know, like, who knows? So take the recognitions wherever they come from, and waiting is not passive. It is active, but in a way that is good for you and feels nurturing to you and feels like you're exploring your niche, the things that you like, the weird stuff that is interesting to you. That's what you do during the waiting time. And you wait when you get an invite. So if you get the invite and you're like, I don't know about this, you can wait. You don't just go, yes, no, I don't know. Like, it's a wait. You gotta wait. Even when the invite is in your face and you're so excited, you're like, oh yes, I would love to do this thing. You should wait. Think about it in your body, which doesn't make any sense.
Just to make sure, makes sense to me. Just to make sure that you're not accepting it out of a not self, or, just to make sure it is the correct invitation for you, because the thirsty projector will just take whatever invitation comes. Because correct. It feels like, oh, somebody is inviting me, yay, and like guilty 100%.
When I first learned about this, I thought we would only get invitations that were right for us, and that if it wasn't right for us, it wouldn't be an invitation. So I was like, well, if I get stuff, then yeah, me. And then I I kept reading about it. I was like, oh wait, so not only do we have to wait for the invitation, but we have to decipher if this invitation is right for us or not. Okay, geez, another step. Cool. So you're totally right, Rebecca. It can be very like when you feel recognized and then you get like recognition and then invitation right after, it's like, oh, I don't know how to say no to this because it feels so great. But it might not be for you. There's been a couple of times where this has happened to me. One time I was invited to teach about human design, like come up with a program, course, curriculum, all the stuff that makes me want to go blah.
And I'm like, I'll do it.
Who asked you to do this? I will do this. This is like a long time ago. And I was like, and this was near the beginning of my experiment. And I was like, well, I can't say no because this is an opportunity that has to do with human design. And I love human design. So I have to say yes. I have to want to do this. Like, I kept trying to convince myself, oh no, you can do this. You want to do this. This sounds really exciting. Oh, you can make this correct. Like, you got it. But my whole body was going, ugh. And I was tired. And I was like nervous to tell this person no, because I knew it was no, but I was afraid, because who am I to turn down an opportunity that has to do with human design when someone's asking me for my expertise? Like, I was so confused. So I'm like, well, I'm being recognized for my thing. Why don't I want to do this? Because I don't want to teach right now. Yeah. And that's the best way for me to describe things, is when I want to say no, it's usually I put right now at the end. Because I might change my mind and want to do that thing later. But right now I don't. So I said no. There was also an opportunity where I was building something with a group of projectors. And I was invited in, like, she did all the right things. She called each of us individually and talked to us and says that this is your invitation, like, because she was a projector too. And she tried to do it very by the book of human design. And then when I got into the thing and realized how much work they wanted from us, I was like, oh no, like, I'm not here for this. And again, that was something I had to reconcile, was these people who have been in their experiment longer than me, know more than me, are more experienced in human design, are asking me to join them and do this thing, and you're going to tell them no?
Okay.
Who are you?
Well, can I just reflect back to you, because this just got me really excited, honestly. this is why it's not the correct invitation. People are like, oh, it's a projector, so I'm supposed to invite, and they'll do the whole like, I'm inviting you to this thing. And it's like, but that's not it. If I was going to invite Janelle to something, I'd be looking at specific Janelle things. Like I'm confused on which direction I want to go. Like I need some guidance on this specific thing. And so an invitation for you would be like, Janelle, I'm inviting you. Like I want to invite you to this thing because I feel like
Yeah.
XYZ specific to Janelle.
I want you to consult. Like,
yeah,
come in, that's kind of how I feel like I do better, is to come in
yeah.
and do my thing and then out.
You're not a teacher. You're not a teacher. And it's like nothing's wrong with that. But the
I
fact that
know.
he's inviting you to teach tells me that they weren't seeing you. They were seeing something through their
Yes.
perspective, and this is how we don't see mental projectors. And this is why the invitation and the recognition is so important, because it's this specific thing, you know. If they're asking you to teach, they're not actually seeing you.
You're totally right. They're not
That's
recognizing
why
me.
you said no. Yeah.
Yes, and you're totally right. But I love that. And I want you all to know that this could happen to you. You could get an invitation or some recognition that you thought was the thing. Like, oh, this is the thing I wanted. I've wanted this the whole time. But it's not quite the thing. It's close, but not the thing. And this is when I had to go, just like you said, I don't want to teach. I'm not a teacher in that way. It's not what I want to do. I don't want to be a part of this platform. That's what I had to say to these people. And once I said no to them and left, I had another person come up, contact me and say, hey, I'd like you to read for my clients. I'm going to set up the reading for them. They're going to pay through me. I'm going to pay you, set up the reading. You're going to read for them. And that's it. And I was like, oh, so I just read and then they go back to your program and that's all I do. She's like, yeah. I was like, yes. And she's a very good friend of mine. She sees me and I had explained to her this whole other thing with these other people. And she goes, they wanted way too much from you. She's like, I literally want you to come in and do your thing and leave. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to do.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah. And at first, when I thought this, I was like, well, that, like, how can I do that? How can I say that's what I want to do? Like, how dare I say I'm just here to consult and I don't want to be involved? Like, that seems rude. That just seems like
that image at the beginning, like you're on the Chase Lounge and you're like, I don't know if I can get up.
Yeah, it feels very selfish and like rude and saying like, I'm not here to work. I'm here for you to come to me when you need something and to go away. And it feels so weird, but it's such a mental projector thing, like to consult and then come out. We have so much openness that to be involved is a lot. It's going to be a lot on your body and on your system. So for me, it's easier for me to call myself a consultant. It actually feels real fancy too. So I like it because I'm not a coach. I am a guide, but that's a very vague word. Consultant to me is like, oh, you come in and you tell me stuff that you know, and I do whatever I want with that stuff. And it's not up to you to make me do things. I just take it and go. And I was like, yes, that's what I do. So
that's perfect.
I niched down, which I was afraid to do, because to me, niching down means you're cutting out people who might be interested in what you have to say and you're telling them that they're not a part of it, but that's not what it is at all. It's just focusing. So while you're waiting, figure out what your focus is or what you want it to be. And it might look totally different than what you thought. Like completely different. You might not be as involved as you thought you wanted to be. You might be out here and up here. Because for us to get involved takes a lot. And if you really want to be involved in a project or a thing, or if you're super into your career and you're very involved in it, just know that it's doing a number on this thing here if you don't pay attention.
Yes. And I like what you were saying about niching down, because I know I had that issue as well. I can like it just took me a while to figure that out. And I still don't know how to label my niche. But when I think about it, in the visual of the lighthouse, like the lighthouse is on one shore. It can't like try to go to different places to serve all of the boats. That would be insanity. It's
I'm just seeing lighthouses growing legs and walking now.
Right? It's like, now let me go over here. You're going over there? Okay, I'll go
How
over
about
there.
follow you?
I'll guide you.
And it sounds so against the projector thing, even when you say it like that. Like, I'm gonna follow
Right?
you and come with you. No, we're
But
not
that's
here to
what
go
we
with
do.
you.
That's what we do when we're looking for that external recognition, right?
We
So
grow
it's like
legs.
you stand in your shore. You
Yeah.
serve your people. I can't help everybody. Janelle can't help everybody. And besides that, there's some people who relate to me a little more, and then some people relate to Janelle a little more. And that's beautiful and perfect and exactly how it needs to be.
Yeah.
So
This reminds me of when I took yoga teacher training, I was injured. My hip was messed up and I couldn't do a lot of the things, but obviously I still could pass because they knew that I was injured. And there was one day where we were doing, at the beginning, we were doing like an hour class, like a hard class, and I knew I couldn't do it. And I stood at the top of my mat and didn't do anything. And I was crying
oh
and I
wow.
was shaking. And after it was over, everybody was like, Janelle, that was so strong. You had so much strength. We saw you just standing there doing nothing. And it was so moving. And my instructor was like, Janelle, thank you so much for doing that. And I felt awful. I was like, oh, look at them doing things. And I'm stuck here. I'm hurt and I can't do anything. And I'm terrible. And that's why I was crying. But they saw the lighthouse and were like, you were just standing there. But the emotion that was pouring out of you, we could tell that this was a big deal for you. And like, you were trying to be strong. And we felt it. And I was like, cool. So like, yeah, just stand there sometimes while everybody else around you is working hard. And they'll see you and they'll take your strength and say, thank you. You don't have to do so much, dear mental projector. You don't have to grow legs. You can stay. I think it would be a good idea to end this with, when you're waiting, what does it feel like to you? And what does your lovely undefined crown say to you?
Sometimes it's very difficult and there's not so nice words.
Yep.
Because I feel like sometimes I feel like I've been waiting forever. But I've just really been allowing myself to research what I want to research. I've been creating a lot of things in Canva. And
I'm going to directly benefit from this, you guys. Sorry.
Just really explore, and it's helped me to unpack so much. It's helped me to see how I've tried to grow legs and become a different lighthouse in order to get recognized. And it's helped me to be okay with just standing here. And it's helped me to be okay with acknowledging who I am and realizing how powerful that actually is. Because that's really hard to say, because I didn't have that confidence for so long. And so I think this current waiting period has just been mostly about recognizing myself and allowing that to happen.
And as Rebeka and I have been putting together the environment, we've noticed other people in our sphere of human design putting out mental projector things. And we've had a myriad of responses to this with each other. Most of the time we're excited and happy because it shows that mental projector stuff is coming to the forefront, and that makes us happy. But other times, while we're waiting to put our thing out, even though we're not waiting, we're working on it, we get jealous and we get a little bitter. And we're like, oh, their thing is out first. Oh, look at this thing they built. Is it better? Are they going to like it better? People like them more. They have more followers. They're more known in these circles. So this thing is they're just going to blow up and we're going to just disappear. And that's part of the waiting. I feel like it wouldn't be waiting if there wasn't one moment in time when you told yourself, wow, what the fuck am I waiting for? Like, this is so stupid. No one's going to come recognize me. No one cares what I have to say. Why am I waiting? I'm going to move forward. I'm going to stop waiting. And that's what I think cuts some projectors short, is we get so scared and nervous that while we're waiting, that other stuff is going to pass us and we're going to miss something, or no one's going to come. No one's going to invite us. We're just going to have crickets and we're never going to get to go to any of the parties. And that's not true. You're always going to be invited to something. You will, believe me, because I've felt that way too. It just isn't going to look like what you thought. And it might be from a person or a part of your life that you did not expect. And it might come when you didn't expect. So there's that. And as projectors, invitations are not like opportunities. Like when we talk about generators getting opportunities, invitations are less. You don't get as many, because for projectors, invitations are big deals. For generators, collecting opportunities is more like, oh, this looks fun. Oh, this looks nice. Invitations for a projector are like, I'm going to be putting all of my energy into this thing, or a good portion of what I have into this thing. Is that what I want? Is that what my body wants? So don't feel frustrated if you have a generator friend and they seem to be practicing a lot with their like, yes, no, oh, opportunities. And you're here going, well, I want to practice. Where are my invitations? I want to practice looking at them and saying yes or no. I need them, because then you put yourself in this bitterness position where you start searching for the invitations. You grow legs and go looking for the boats. And that's exhausting. We don't have the energy for that. We're not built for that. That's a waste of our energy. It helps me to think of it this way, that our energy is unique and special and sacred. And for us to just throw it onto invitations that we go seeking out, it's just a waste. And it's a waste of your precious power as a mental projector. So just be patient and really get into the things that you like. That was what helps me the most when I'm in a waiting period and I start to get frustrated or impatient. I'm like, come on, I want things to happen. Focus, shift your focus, shift it to something that you like, anything that you like, anything. And color, walk, talk on the phone, watch a shitty TV show, eat ice cream. I don't know. Shift it. Because once you shift your focus, you forget about it. And then some invitation may be connected to that thing or maybe not, flies out at you. And you're like, oh. The biggest way I practice with this is for my personal podcast, Chatting Human Design. I don't ask people to come on. I haven't asked people to come on. Might be almost a year now. Jeez. I don't. I wait for the invitation. They're easy invitations for me because really anyone who has experimented with their design can come on and talk about it. So if someone says, hey, I'd like to come on, it's very easy for me to say yes. But I wanted to so badly. I wanted to jump into people's DMs and be like, please come on my podcast. You would be amazing. I love you. And I'm sure they would, a lot of them. If I asked them, I'm sure that they would. And I've done this before. But then I'm not as excited to have them on. They don't seem as excited to come on when we connect. If they invite themselves and I say yes, and then we connect, they're like, oh my God, I'm so excited to be here. Yeah. But if I reach out and I'm like, hey, please do this. And then they come, they're like, hey, yeah, cool. I'm happy to do this for you. I want them to do it for me. I want them to be excited to talk to me. So I wait. And I don't put out podcasts as much, but I don't care. And I've gotten plenty of invitations to come on. And I've had plenty of people on that simply said, hey, can I come on? And you can make yourself available for the invitation. You can say, hey, I don't ask people to come on the podcast, but if you'd like to come on the podcast, why don't you message me and we'll talk about it. I've said that in my stories before. And that it's different than I'm not asking for the invitation. I'm letting people know I'm available. Because as projectors, in order to get recognized, they have to see you. You have to be out there. So you don't need a recognition to put yourself out there on Instagram or any of your social media or to put out your blog or to put anything out into the world. You don't need an invitation.
I think that's what hangs people up, is that waiting.
Like, precisely.
And again, that's why I like the lighthouse. The lighthouse doesn't sit around and wait to turn its light on. It's
on.
always shining its light.
It's on. So the things that get you excited to talk about, or the things that get you excited to research or anything, say it, talk about it out loud. Tell people that you like it. If you're not a social media person, fine. Tell your friends, tell your family. Say it out loud into a recorder. I don't know. Just put it out into the universe, the things that you like and that you enjoy. Even if you don't think they matter to other people, or if anyone cares to hear your voice, or if anyone's going to listen. When I started the podcast, I did not care if anybody heard it. I was excited to talk to other people about human design because I was having trouble finding other people to talk about human design with. And so it was a selfish way for me to go, hey, I want to talk about human design. So get on here and talk about it with me. And to this day, I've had it for 2 years. To this day, if no one listened to it, I would still do it because I love the chat. I love the talk with the people. So figure out what those things are for you that you would do and talk about, no matter if anybody listened to you or not. Don't worry about getting paid for whatever it is, because we're not there yet. You got to recognize yourself. You got to figure out the things that you enjoy and make yourself open for the invitations before the money part a lot of the time, which is difficult for projectors.
Annoying.
And it's especially difficult when you see other people doing similar things to you and they just blow it up, and you're like, how do you have $1 million business based on human design in 3 years? How do you do this? How? That's not your focus. That's not your focus, because that's what brings the bitter train by your lighthouse, and you don't need that. So
Yeah, and then you'll try to do it like they did, which is not your way. So
you can do what we do, which is sometimes unfollow people so that we don't see them, because it's similar to what everybody experiences in social media, is the FOMO of, I want to be where you are. But ours is very, very specific to human design people. But I imagine it happens to everyone in different in different hobbies or different aspects of life. Like if you see people doing the thing you want to do, turn it off if you want to, or if it feels good, because I do that sometimes too. But again, just shift your focus. That's the easiest thing for me to do. Is I'm very like distractible, like shiny things. I'll be like, oh, cool. So it's very easy for me to shift my own focus. I just have to distract myself a little bit and go, oh, this thing's neat. It's I'm very simple that way, which is good. But for people who have a hard time, you're not doing it wrong, and you just keep practicing with it. And you're always going to think about the stuff that you want, the things that you don't have that you want to have. It's natural human inclination, like duh. Otherwise we would never move forward. So when it comes to waiting, know that it's not passive, even if it feels passive. Know that you're going to say some mean stuff to yourself. You're going to say, hey, you're being lazy. Hey, why aren't you acting on this thing? Hey, if you did this thing, then maybe you would get the invitations you're looking for. If you just did something about it, do something. Like that's what I hear all the time. Mm-hmm. So, and when I hear that, I lean the other way. I go, no, thank you. And I don't do anything involved with that. I go for a walk or yoga or cook or talk to my husband or play with my dogs or anything that's fun for me. And then the voices quiet down that are telling me to do stuff. And then a random invitation will show up and I'm like, what is this? And then you have to process it and realize, this is for me, yes or no. Take the invite. And then you know what's real fun? You will take an invitation that's wrong. That's not for you, that you weren't supposed to take. Oh well, you learn from it. That's what happened with me, is that because I got pretty far along in that little group thing. So I took several invitations and said wholehearted yeses to before I said no. That's totally fine. You can be in the process of things and be going, yes, 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 yes. Nope. And then you're out. It's okay. You didn't do it wrong because you started with the yes and then you changed your mind or backtracked or something else came up and you're like, actually, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. That's what happened to me. It's like, I didn't think this wasn't what I thought. So I'm
That's
saying,
the thing. The energy shifts and you get more information.
invitations are complicated, people. They're ever changing. Invitations can expire. So if you have an invitation from someone and it expires, you don't have it anymore. Invitations can last forever. You can have an open invitation. I feel like Rebecca and I have open invitations with each other. If I want to tell her something, I tell her. If she wants to tell me something, she tells me.
Yeah.
Invitations. If I want to ask her for something, same. But the thing is, just like you said, I would look at your design before I would ask you for something. Like I would go, oh, this is something that she might want to do. Because I don't like to burden people by asking them for stuff. But when it comes to like, hey, Rebecca, would you mind creating like a half a page PDF on this thing real quick?
I know, and you're always nervous to ask,
okay.
and I'm like, okay, I'll do it right now.
I'm on it. I've already done it. As you were speaking, it's finished. Because to me, it sounds horrifying and hard and like, oh God. And for you, it's like, oh, this is super fun. So
I think there's been a couple of times where I'm like, oh yeah, I did that for myself like a week ago. You can use it.
But if she were to go to me and say, hey, Janelle, can you get on a video or a voice thing and riff on this real quick and just talk about it? I'd be like, yeah, sure, yep, I can. You're not giving me any like parameters or rules or thing. Nope. Okay, cool. Then here I go. That's how this came about, is less rules for these videos. Okay, so waiting is complicated. Something you're going to have to experiment with and practice with, and you're going to mess it up real bad. But that's okay.
So it's 6.
It's totally, yeah. Well, it's okay. It's fine. Like you'll get better at it. You just get better. And you start to really look at the invitations as like, oh my gosh, like this is a big, like they become to me like shinier and sparklier and like more magical of like, what does this invitation hold? I know they're asking me for this, but what about all of this stuff? And it turns into this big thing. When my invitations expand before my eyes, that's usually when I know that's probably yes, even if I'm going to give myself time. When they restrict and make me feel heavy and like, blah, blah, then I know that that's a no. And that's body stuff.
Yeah.
Which we're not supposed to have really to help us decide things, but.
Well, yeah, that's the interesting thing. It's just that ours is inconsistent.
Yeah, I like that better. Inconsistent, not
so,
have.
Yeah, it's not like we have a consistent sacral reaction. It might show up a little differently each time, but we have bodily awareness. We have inner awareness.
And I think as human beings, as people, we recognize when there's a pattern. Like I'll recognize when certain things make me feel like obviously I've talked to you about before, technology automatically makes me just like clench in my whole body. And I know that feeling. And I'm like, oh God, it's because we're doing technical stuff, but I'll be okay. And then I can let myself like relax. But you're totally right. It's very much what is like, I don't know when I'm going to stop clenching. Like maybe I'll just clench until I become a tiny ball. Is this going to stop? Like, I think that's part of the thing with the physical body as a mental projectors is we don't know if it's going to stop. Like, we don't know if this anxiety feeling in our stomach is going to fade out a little bit, or am I going to throw up, or like, am I going to pass out? Like what's going to happen to me when body stuff happens? I don't get, like, I'm not familiar with, it's inconsistent. It freaks me out. I get nervous. I'm like, oh no, I'm probably going to die. And I feel like people with more consistent body awareness, like more defined centers, maybe they have a little bit more of a handle on it than I do. And maybe they're like, oh yeah, this feeling, it goes to here. And then it kind of quells down. But for me, it's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to have a seizure. Maybe I'm going to pass out or throw up. I have no idea.
Well, that's
we digress. So yeah, this was about waiting. We helped you learn something or not, just take something and practice with it, see how it goes. But yeah, waiting is a big important step for us. And it's not bad, and it's not negative, and it doesn't make you lazy. I promise. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.